raised a question about, really, it's a fundamental question about principle, rule of law. One of the strengths of a constitution, a written constitution, a body of precedent, a body of law, is it provides stability in decision making. People know what the rules are. And the United States has claimed a moral high ground. It's, since you see this argument over American exceptionalism. Is America somehow unique, a different country? Interesting to know, for example, constitutionally, the United States is the country with the oldest written continuing constitution of any country. No other country has a constitution that's been written out that has lasted as long as ours, through civil war and through all kinds of upheavals. The other thing America's claimed, and when I was a high schooler, we were still taught, which I don't think is taught today, that America had manifest destiny, that America was blessed by God, that we had a special role in the history of the world, that we had a role for good in a world dominated by countries that have argued for their own self-interest all the time, that America had a special role. And right now what you see is a lot of confusion in America. The Tea Party movement is part of this upheaval about an uncertainty of what America is going to be and where is the country going in the future. And President Bush, George W. Bush, came in with sort of a set of arguments and principles that he was trying to sort of reestablish a conservative era, which, if by any measure you'd have to say was a total failure in that because of his spending issues and the wars. But it's very interesting. I was mentioning to someone, I voted or had political leanings ever since 1960. The only person I ever favored or voted for that was elected president was Obama. Everybody else I voted for or favored lost. So, you know, I'm not necessarily the best judge of who the best president is, perhaps, but you see a lot of people that are somewhat disappointed in Obama because he promised he was going to fix the grid, and we'd have reinvestment in several shovel-ready projects, and we're going to have closing of Guantanamo, and we're going to reestablish America's foreign policy as a policy of beneficence, and we're going to care about other nations. He won the Nobel Peace Prize, and yet we're in 3 wars, which is going on right now. So many people have argued, recently I've seen a lot of commentary that said, what's the difference between Bush and Obama in terms of a lot of policies? And this is concerning because it doesn't seem to make too much difference who we elect. We get the same crowd again and again. It's a worry. So during George W. Bush's presidency, he felt that we needed to do more to tell the story of America. Under President Clinton, the U.S. Information Agency had been largely dismantled, and its various mechanisms placed under the State Department. There had been a continuing battle between those in the State Department that favored diplomatic control over our apparatus of communication internationally about the United States, and those that argued that the role of United States information should be to present America's story, not as propaganda, but as a true story of who Americans really are. And that debate was lost largely by the truth storytellers to the diplomats. And so if we look at public relations and public diplomacy, you see that public relations and public diplomacy both are relationship driven. The understanding that if you want to influence others, you can't tell people what to do. It's like your dad telling you what to do. You don't pay attention until something really happens, or you really respect your parents and you want to do right by them. But people yelling at you or telling you what to do, human nature is such, we're going to ignore it. And so the relationship component means there's reciprocity, that we have to listen as much as talk. And so the common challenge is, How should we communicate in order to build a relationship that's healthy and stable and mutually beneficial? It's not easy. We know from our own interpersonal relationships. Marriages, just, dating and marriages and stuff in the United States is a mess. We have a lot of problems with relationships, just on an interpersonal level, let alone on government to government or government to peoples overseas. It's a real mess.